It may not have been pretty in Oakland, but the Rangers found a way to extend their winning streak to their longest in the last 5 years on today's show, breaking down why it doesn't matter how the Rangers win, just that they keep doing it. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Paddock, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Tuesday, August 8th. Your Rangers are 67-46, alone in first place atop the AL West with a 3-game lead over those stinking Houston Astros. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Paddock. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, the Rangers beat the A's 5-3 last night, and it was an ugly win, but it was still a win for the Rangers, extending their winning streak to 7 games, the longest of the season, the longest since 2018, which, if you don't remember much about the 2018 Rangers, I was very surprised that this was the year that the Rangers had a 7-game winning streak, and not in 2019 when they were actually scrappy and kind of fun. That 2018 team was one of the weirdest teams, I think, in my recent memory of the Rangers. It was the last year of Adrian Beltre. It was a great year of Shin-Soo Choo, Jurickson Profar, Joey Gallo. One of the few really great years for, actually pretty much the only great year in Texas for Jurickson Profar. A pitching staff of Mike Minor, Bartolo Colon, Cole Hamels, Giovanni Gallardo, Doug Fister, and Martin Perez. I mean, this is just a weird hodgepodge of a team, and it's been a long time since this team has won 7, and the Rangers have done it in a bunch of different ways. This time they used a little bit of small ball, and over the last homestand they just battered the absolute crap out of baseballs. In the homestand they had games with home runs of 2, 3, 2, 3, 3, 4, 17 home runs in 6 games. No homers for them in this one, just a bunch of doubles and a decent performance by Dane Dunning. Solid start for him, a quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts, 3 walks. Was not ideal, but still the Rangers offense did enough in this one, and they played smart, organized, good baseball, made the right decisions, and didn't make, well, too many frustrating plays on defense where they beat themselves. A little later, I'll talk about Robbie Grossman's misplay and my just absolute abhorrence with seeing him in the field at any point. But the hero of the day, really, in this one has to be Mitch Garver. 3 hits for him, a pair of doubles, 2 RBIs. Just another great offensive day for the Rangers backup catcher, who's been forced into everyday duty, who has just been on fire as of late. In the last 14 days, he's played in 11 games. That's 44 plate appearances with 3 home runs, 3 doubles, hit a slash line of 395, 477, and 711, and 1188 OPS in the last 2 weeks. That is fantastic stuff from a guy who the Rangers did not get a whole lot out of early on in this season, did not play him a whole lot early on in this season, but they have kept him healthy for the most important part of the year, with Jonah Heim being injured. We did get an update on that. He is swinging the bat from the left side, and he caught, Jordan Montgomery, and Josh Young is expected to be back this year. He had surgery to heal his broken thumb, will likely miss about 6 weeks. That is from Jason Burke, former Locked On A's host, giving us the updates there. Thanks to Jason for being there in the press in Oakland to give us these updates. But the Rangers did a lot of good little things and did not beat themselves, which I can't say about the A's. With runners on second and third with 2 outs for Nathaniel Lowe, he hits a pretty easy grounder to first base. Not the best throw back to the pitcher, but it does enough to get away and is bobbled, and the Rangers scored the tying run. Jankowski scored the tying run on that play to make it 3-3 at that point. And then earlier on in the evening, there was a play by center fielder J.J. Bleday that was on an 0-2 pitch, which was hung right over the middle for Mitch Garver for one of his 2 doubles on the day, a 2-run double to give the Rangers their first runs of the day. And Bleday, it was a tough play for him, but it was in his glove and out, and it wasn't ruled an error. It was thankfully ruled a double, which helps Mitch Garver's numbers and helps my case of making how important he is to this lineup. He's hitting 5th in this lineup, which I think I think is where he's probably going to stay until we get one of Jonah Heim or Josh Young back, or maybe even after. Maybe even after he will be DHing or catching, and then Jonah Heim will slot back into the 6th hole of this lineup, because the bottom third of this order is not exactly as intimidating as it was early on in the season when the Rangers were just bashing everybody, but it didn't really matter. They did a lot of smart things, a lot of little things well, including Ezekiel Duran, who has been just in the roughest of ways since the calendar turned to July. It has just been really, really tough for Ezekiel Duran. But with runners on first and second in that 8th inning, he had a sac bunt and moved the runners to second and third with one out for Travis Jankowski, who was behind him, and Jankowski did enough. He hit a ball to second base that scored the go-ahead run, moved the other runner over to third base, and Jankowski made it to first base. Then Leo Taveras hit the absolute snot out of baseball, 105.6 miles an hour off the bat. That ended up being a sac fly that gave the Rangers a little bit of an insurance run right there, give them a 2-run lead, which they would not relinquish because this bullpen is pretty much trustworthy. You get 6 innings from Dane Dunning, a quality start, then you throw it to the bullpen, and Josh Boers comes in the 7th inning. Aroldis Chapman, I need to stop saying Matt Chapman. Aroldis Chapman in the 8th inning, who gets his 12th hole of the season. Then Will Smith comes in, bing, bang, boom, no drama for him, his 21st save of the season. Rangers get the win, head into the Thursday game with Max Scherzer on the hill against the A's, and the second Scherzer day in a Rangers uniform. Very much looking forward to that one late tonight. But this team, again, the depth is so incredibly impressive. They are out 2 All-Stars. They have another hurt All-Star in Corey Seager. They've got another starting pitching All-Star on the shelf. I mean, this team just finds ways to win every single time. Dane Dunning, who was the number 7 man coming into the season in the rotation, was maybe not even going to make the Major League roster, but the injury to Jake Odorizzi and the injury to Jacob deGrom, two Jakes taken out, that put him in the rotation. He's been just incredibly solid. I've been very impressed with him. And it should be noted, the guy who scored the go-ahead run, that was Jonathan Ornelas in his big league debut, pinch running for, I believe it was, Mitch Garver, who had a single to lead off that inning. So he doesn't have his first big league hit yet, and he has not played the field yet, but he has scored a run. He has tallied a big league statistic. So congratulations to Jonathan Ornelas. You are officially a big leaguer, has been in a game, has scored the go-ahead run. Not any super impressive base running, but hey, he did the job. He was fast enough to get home on a pretty tough play that was hit to the second baseman that Jankowski did to drive him in. But hey, he did enough. He contributed to winning at the big league level, which I think he will do quite a bit over the next few weeks while he's still at the big league level. Coming up, we're going to look at Dane Dunning, how sustainable his success is, and a little bit about what this lineup should look like with the injuries in place and who's going to go where and who is struggling or not. But first, this word from our sponsors. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with some tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're making some tough decisions in your personal life, your professional life, or whatever else is going on with you, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, I know I have this year, and it's been very, very helpful. And BetterHelp would be a great place to give it a try. So it's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a quick, brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist. And switch therapists at any time with no additional charge. Let therapy be your roadmap with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnMLB. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, we'll be talking about Max Scherzer's ceiling, how good he can be with the Rangers, how important he is down the stretch for Texas. The Rangers take on the A's this week and catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, Dane Dunning has been very, very good for the Rangers so far this year, and his success has been a little unexpected this year. And you know what? It has been one of the brighter spots for the Rangers. There's been some things that have not gone super right for the Rangers. Some things have gone terribly wrong for the Rangers, but But the success of Dane Dunning has been an unmitigated big plus for the Rangers. Now, I think that the Rangers could have seen a little bit of Cole Reagans in this rotation, which I'll get into that a little bit in the third segment about some great stuff for him. But still, I have really loved what I've seen from Dane Dunning, and I don't think that this is necessarily a mirage. There's a lot of players that you can look on their Baseball Savant page, and that kind of tells you a whole lot about what they're doing. But you look at Dane Dunning's Baseball Savant page, it's nothing about it's going to blow you away. I mean, his extension is in the top 14% baseball, but I mean, other than that, nothing's really that impressive. His walk rate's in the 69th percentile of baseball, which is pretty nice. He's not giving up a lot of barrels. He's not getting a lot of swings and misses. He has gotten more in the last few games. He had 6 strikeouts in this one and 11 strikeouts, a career high against the White Sox, but we saw how bad those White Sox were. So I don't know if he's going to have 11 strikeouts again this season. He might. It's not impossible. But still, this is a guy who I think is really underappreciated for what he does to this team, what he means to this team. He stepped up in a huge way when Jacob deGrom went down, and he has been incredibly good. He's got a 3.21 ERA in 25 games this season, 17 starts, 120 and 2/3 innings, only 85 strikeouts, but still, that doesn't really matter. He's been one of the best Rangers starters this year. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi has a 2.69 ERA, and he's the only other starter on this team who's got a lower ERA at this point than Dane Dunning. And Dunning has 120 and 2/3 innings, which is second on this team only to Nathan Eovaldi. He is ahead of John Gray and Andrew Heaney, which, again, those guys haven't gone through their most recent start in the rotation, so maybe at that point they will pass him for the amount of innings thrown as a Ranger this year. But he has been incredibly consistent. He has been averaging about 6 innings per start over the last 15, so the basically all but 2 starts. He is just a little bit under 6 innings per start. He is getting you a lot of quality starts, which I talked about on Friday's show, and how important it is for him to just be fine, because his offense is so incredibly good, even with some of the injuries and the things not going right for the Rangers. You go and give up 3 runs in 6 innings, and you hand it to that A bullpen of Spores, Chapman, and Smith. I mean, this team is going to score 5 runs most every time out, especially in series like this against the A's, which they did get a good performance from Ken Waldichuk. I was really impressed with him. Waldichuk was a guy who I kind of wanted the Rangers to trade for last year, find some way to get somebody to the Yankees and pry him off of them, but he has not had a great year overall. It's 6.30 ERA, and that is after 6 innings of 2-run ball and 7 strikeouts against the Rangers. But this team just finds ways to win. I mean, it does not matter what they're doing, whether they're getting big performances from Marcus Semien or Nathaniel Lowe. Both those guys were combined 0 for 8. Marcus Semien did have a pair of walks, and Nathaniel Lowe, one of his at-bats was that ground out to first base that he beat out with 2 outs to score the tying run. He was hustling down the field. He was hustling down the line to get there to first base, to kind of force that tough play, to make it much tougher. It should have been a routine play, but Nathaniel Lowe was busting his butt out of the box. Every single one of these guys is just doing all of the little things right, including Adolis Garcia, who had a rough day at the plate, not great day at the plate. I don't want to say really rough day at the plate, but he took a called third strike on a full count that was not strike 3. It was inside. It should not have been, called a strike 3. But, just the things that he keeps doing, he has not let those calls deter him from what he's been doing this year. His walk rate is up in the 68th percentile of baseball. He's still striking out in the bottom third of baseball, and the swing and miss rate is still down, but the chase rate is right about league average, so he's still swinging, missing some in the zone, but he is not jumping out on those pitches, and it has led to this career year. He's got an 875 OPS this year with 29 home runs. He is on pace to blow by his career high, which he set as a rookie, but he should have won Rookie of the Year. And that was a pace that Josh Young was also looking like he might just pass with his 22 home runs on the season, and it's not looking like he will be able to break that Rangers rookie record and might not win AL Rookie of the Year, which is honestly a big deal. Connor Henderson has been very, very good for the last few months, and the thing that I hate about a lot of these awards, it's a what have you done for me lately award. A lot of them is just, who was good at the very end? I have the memory of a goldfish, so I'm not going to look at the entire season and say, remember when Gunnar Henderson was terrible for the first 2 months of the season. Now, Gunnar Henderson was the odds-on favorite to win. I think FanDuel had him as the odds-on favorite to win before the year. And Josh Young was just incredible. He was the best third baseman in the American League for the first 2 months. He earned that spot as the starting all-star third baseman. And, it hasn't been as great in July and the early part of August, but I felt like he still had a shot and was still kind of the leader. I mean, I think if they continued on that pace with Gunnar Henderson and Josh Young, he wouldn't have. But that award matters. It matters a lot. There's a compensatory pick attached to it, or I guess a bonus first-round pick attached to it, which the Rangers haven't had a whole lot of those middle-ish round picks because they have been signing so many big free agents the last couple of years. They've lost their second and third round picks in consecutive years. They've done a good job with those draft picks in Wyatt Langford, and I'm excited about Kumar Rocker and what they were able to do to get Rocker and Brock Porter in the fourth round. Rangers didn't do that. They just gave a bunch of signing bonus money to Wyatt Langford this year, which I think was very much the right decision, as we've seen him tear it up in High A and the Complex League in his 10-ish games of organized baseball so far. But that could be a big deal for the Rangers. I think if Henderson keeps on his current pace, or if Masataka Yoshida keeps up his current pace, or even Tristan Casas, who had a really terrible first 3 months of the season, has been just on fire offensively, the first baseman for the Boston Red Sox. I think all three of those guys could end up finishing ahead of Josh Young. I don't think they should, but I think with the way the award works and the fact that he might get 2 weeks left of his regular season, I think he might come back when there's about 2 weeks sometime, and towards the end, maybe in just 1 week left in the regular season, that road trip, that 10-game road trip to end the season in LA and Seattle, I think that might be about when the Rangers are targeting seeing him back, which freaking sucks. And maybe it'll be earlier, but I don't think so. It's going to be about 6 weeks. So you give it September, that's September 8th, and then 2 weeks after that. That's about September 22nd, I think, if my math is mathing correctly on that one. So it's just not looking great for him winning that award. It's frustrating. Awards don't really matter because, I mean, unless you're really particular about it, but that one comes with some repercussions for the team that could have gone really well. I don't think the Rangers, actually, Evan Carter's probably going to be up in the big leagues next year, so we'll see if he could track down the Rangers Rookie of the Year award and get them that extra draft pick. But it would have been nice to have it this year, especially with Josh Young having such a great season. It is a freaking bummer. Speaking of freaking bummers, we're going to talk about Robbie Grossman's defense, how it has fallen off a cliff, and how I never, ever want to see him play defense for the Rangers in the outfield again this season. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits just right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop at eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Shout out to the Aviators for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Thursday's show, I'm hoping to be joined by Jason Burke, former Locked On A's host, to break down this series. The Rangers take on the A's this week and catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, we were talking about things that were an absolute bummer, and Robbie Grossman's defense this year has been one of the most perplexingly terrible parts of this season. He has been absolutely atrocious. Now, I do have to say, I feel like I have to say nice things about Robbie Grossman before I just absolutely tear him a new one, because he has brought the Rangers some value, done some things well. He cost $2 million for a one-year contract, a guy who is going to be a veteran outfielder and be fine out there, you thought. I mean, because defensively, he had a decent reputation of being a fine defensive corner outfielder. He was going to be your everyday left fielder, and then Ezekiel Duran broke out and kind of took that job, and so he was relegated to DH / randomly playing the field duties in the corner outfields, and a little bit worse in right field than left field, which is saying something because he was still pretty bad in left field, but he does do things well. I'm trying to say nice things and already spiraling. Against left-handed pitchers, he is a very good hitter. This year, he's got a slash line of 286, 370, 464, a 838 OPS. That's very good. If that's your DH against left-handed pitching, that's pretty good. He is has incredible walk rate. He does not strike out a whole lot, or does not swing and miss a whole lot, I should say. He is in the bottom, the 30th percentile, top 30% of whiff rate. His chase rate, he does not chase, he does not expand the zone. He has very good long at-bats, which is helpful to other players. He is in the 99th percentile of chase rate and the top quarter baseball in terms of his walk rate. He's still decently fast, 63rd percentile of sprint speed, and his arm strength is, the top half of baseball, 55th percentile. So, he's got some tools there. He shouldn't be this terrible defensively, right? Wrong. His outfielder jump is in the 15th percentile, and the defensive WAR for him and these numbers are just astoundingly bad because he's only played 49 games in the outfield this year. Not even full games, just pieces of 49 games. He's got a negative 0.9 defensive WAR, according to Baseball Reference. And for his career, it's not been particularly good. His defensive WAR, he has a negative 7 career defensive WAR in 11 seasons, over 1,000 games. His worst defensive season was in Minnesota. He played 99 games that year, had a negative 2.5 defensive WAR. So he's had some issues with that. But last year, you look at his outs above average, it was in the top half of baseball, the arm strength, top half, outfielder jump, top half of baseball. All those were fine last year combined with Detroit and Atlanta. So how did he fall off this year? Honestly, I have no idea. But the level of misplays, including last night where a really just egregious misplay. There was a ball hit to left field, which I probably could have and should have been caught. Maybe it wasn't by the number 9 hole hitter, Nick Allen. There was a runner on first base, and I believe it was 1 out for Dane Dunning in the 3rd inning. And Robbie Grossman just straight up slipped, and the ball got past him, and it ended up being an RBI double, which is the most generous double I think that I have ever seen awarded to just about anybody. You can't rule it an error because he didn't touch the baseball, but still, not exactly the most graceful play. But I think it probably should have been a single if you were a mediocre fielder. But it's slipping, letting the ball get by you, and that turned into a run. And then Nick Allen ended up scoring on a Jaloff double. That's all the runs for the A's scored in that 1 inning, where it could have been much more drama-free. And instead, we get to see Robbie Grossman out there in the outfield. It's getting to the point where I'd rather see pretty much anybody on this roster, position player or otherwise. Hell, throw Sam Huff out there in left field. Give me Mike Napoli in left field. I feel like he had fewer egregious misplays as an outfielder than we have seen from Robbie Grossman, who has played nearly 1,000 games in the outfield for his big league career. I just don't understand how someone gets this bad this quickly, and you put him in right field, and it's just an absolute disaster. He's had even more misplays than in left field. It's just, I don't understand how this happened, and I swear, I do not want to see another second of Robbie Grossman in the field defensively. Offensively, as a DH against left-handed pitching, fine. Great. Good. That's okay. I can live with that. But in the field against left-handed pitching, and just in the field in general, and especially when in games where there's a right-handed starter and he is playing the field, it's just one of the few decisions that Bruce Bochy has made that I can just straight up say that's just very bad and very wrong. The ideal lineup, I think, looks like this at the moment. Against a left-handed starting pitcher, the top 5 is consistent against righties and lefties, I think, at this point, with the current injuries, until someone gets back. It's Semien, Seager, Lowe, Garcia, Garver. Then against lefties, I'm okay with Robbie Grossman, your 6-hole hitter DH against lefties. Then Duran, Ornelas in left field, because even though Ornelas has played, I believe, 6 games in his minor league career in left field, he had 7 games in center field in 2023, and then at left field he's had 10 games in his career. 9 of those were started, and those all came in Hickory in 2019 as a 19-year-old. So it's been a while since he's played left field, but I still trust him out there more than I trust Robbie Grossman at this point. And then, of course, Leo Taveras in the 9-hole against righties. I think that we should see a little bit more of Josh Smith. I really would like to see more of Josh Smith. I think that giving him consistent at-bats would be important for this team. We've seen when he has gotten consistent at bats, he has been able to come through. I mean, in the month of May, when he was starting a decent amount of games, he was big for the Rangers. In the month of May, he had 16 games, 11 of those were starts, just under 50 plate appearances. He had 2 of his 4 home runs this season, 3 of his 5 doubles on the season, hit .293, been on base of .383, and slugged .512. That's an .895 OPS for Josh Smith. He's a guy who I think could be an everyday big leaguer at shortstop on the right team, and not even on a bad team, but I think on a decent team. But he just has not gotten the plate appearances because Zeke Duran has been incredible. In the second half, he's only had 20 plate appearances, but he's got a slash line of .235, .350, .471, and .821 OPS. I would like to see his bat in there a little bit more often. I know that makes it basically impossible to see games from Sam Huff, which I don't think we're going to see very much of Sam Huff at this point. But still, I think he needs to be in there. And against righties, it's the same top 5. Then Travis Jankowski, I think, should hit in the 6 hole. Maybe put Smith 7th, and then Durant 8th, and then Tavares 9th. But still, I think that's about what this lineup should look like. I want to see more from Smith. We haven't seen a whole lot from Jankowski. He's been in a little bit of a mini slump as of late in the month of August. He's got a .421 OPS. That's only in 7 games, just 14 plate appearances, because he has not started a whole lot of games in the month of August, which I don't really understand since Leo Tavares is, or not Leo Tavares, Ezekiel Duran is going to be playing third base for this month. We need to see more of Jankowski. If the Rangers just think, oh, he's been exposed, there's something that everyone has figured out about why he's having such a great year, then I get that. But I think until we actually see it in a more prolonged stretch, we probably should see more of Jankowski, because he also provides you those very valuable at-bats, those long at-bats, and gets on base at a good rate, like Robbie Grossman. Grossman has a little bit more power, but the defense and speed of Jankowski is, I think, a lot more valuable because we see it a whole lot more consistently, and just the defensive drop-off from Jankowski to Grossman is just, I mean, it could not be bigger, and it's just incredibly frustrating that this is the year that Grossman just falls off a complete cliff. Maybe he was always kind of like this. Maybe the outs above average were a little bit, not accurate for what he did last year, because the defensive WAR numbers have not loved him for basically the entirety of his career. I don't think there's been a single season in his career where he's had a positive defensive WAR. No, there has been one. I lied. In 2014 in Houston, he played 103 games, had a positive 0.4 defensive WAR. So he's had some moments, but still, I think that rolling him out there defensively, those are the ways that you lose games. We saw what happened with the A's with their defensive misplays in center field and at first base. I mean, the Rangers have a very, very good defense this year, all the way across the diamond. From Corey Seager stepping up defensively, from Nathaniel Lowe somehow becoming an elite defensive first baseman. We know what Leote can do in center field. We know what Adolis Garcia can do in right field, and we've seen how Ezekiel Duran can be very good at pretty much anywhere on the diamond that you put him defensively, and Josh Smith as well, and Travis Jankowski, whoever's out there in left field. But if you're throwing Robbie Grossman out there in the outfield, you are asking for problems, and I don't think that those are problems that the Rangers can handle right now. When they had their fully healthy, actualized lineup and everything was going great, then fine. But at this point, it's not something you can suffer. You're getting good performances from the starting rotation and from the bullpen, which is huge. I think the Rangers are going to need to be carried in these next couple weeks with their bats on the shelf by those starting pitchers and by that bullpen, which has been very, very consistent, which you absolutely love to see. Hopefully the Rangers can pour a few more runs on tonight and have a great performance from Max Scherzer and not get BABIP to death like he did in his first start. Those 9 strikeouts were great. I don't know if he's going to have 9 strikeouts in this one, because this Oakland team, it feels like no matter how bad they are, they're never going to be a huge strikeout team. They're always going to give you really annoying at bats. But still, hopefully you can have a great start for Max Scherzer, extend that winning streak to 8 games, and then look to go for the sweep in the Wednesday afternoon game, head into the other side of the bay, and a return to San Francisco on a W9. And we'll see if the Astros can lose some games and give the Rangers a little bit even more breathing room in their series against the Baltimore Orioles tonight. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy first place Texas Rangers baseball.